So thank you very much, Carl Reader. Good to meet you. We're in an elevator together going up to the 15th floor of a tower block. What do you say to me in those 15 seconds about what you do?
You know what? I probably bore you to tears. So summing it up in 15 seconds is really difficult because I wear a few different hats. But I would probably just say that I'm the author of Boss It, a new business book that helps you control your time, your income, and your life.
Excellent. And just so you see, there's the book.
Fantastic. That's what I like to see.
What a great advert.
Guess this, I've got one on my desk too.
Right, that's it. We're done. We can go now. No, so Sharon at WorkBuzz sent me a copy.
Fantastic.
So unfortunately, I didn't buy it, Carl, but I was going to buy it, and then I got an email from Sharon saying, "Oh, would you like a free copy of Carl's book?" And I was like, "Oh, yes, please. That'd be great." So I'm reading through it at the moment. So yeah, it's a good read.
Excellent.
So tell us a little bit about your background, how you got into business, and where it all started.
Yeah, of course. Well, it all started by accident, I would say. So if I go back, I'm not going to go back as far as the midwife holding me up by my feet, but I am going to go back to the age of 15, where I left school and I was just fed up with the academic system and didn't really see the point of turning up, to be honest, and decided to go into a YTS in hairdressing. Lasted all of about 6 weeks. You could say I wasn't cut out for it. You can make all kinds of jokes. But anyway, went back to school, did my GCSEs, but had to get a job. And I had no idea what path I was going to take in life, to be honest. So obviously you've got these options for whilst at school are open to you. And I was fortunate enough to go to a grammar school. So I guess the fortunate side of that is certainly when you're in that academic system, you've got a whole lot more options open to you than you might have at, let's say, a comprehensive. But having left very early, having really not done too well in my GCSEs because I'd missed probably a third of my final year, I didn't have very many options. So I had to pick up the job paper and apply to every job that I found, and ended up falling into accountancy, but not even knowing what an accountant was, what they did, who they served, and so on. In fact, I remember quite clearly going to the library beforehand, dusting off a careers book and reading about what an accountant does. So anyway, went into accountancy, and that was, I guess, the beginning of my career in business. And whilst it was an unconventional route in, I guess the route I took within accountancy was even more unconventional, because I found out pretty soon that I didn't enjoy it. I didn't like adding up numbers. So what I found was I really enjoyed speaking to business owners and trying to ask them questions about their business, which are probably the simple questions, the ones that most professionals are too embarrassed to ask. Like, why do you do this? Why do you do that? How does this work? And I found that probably within a couple of years, I'd met 1,000 odd business owners, and I'd asked 1,000 odd questions that most advisors would never ask because they would never put themselves in that position of vulnerability to show that they didn't know something. So I moved from doing accounts to training business owners to then starting to build a portfolio, built a portfolio, then took on a team to build a portfolio, started doing marketing, led to doing a management buyout of D&T. So then we scaled that up to biggest franchise accounting firm in the country. From there, I wrote 3 books of a startup coach, the franchising handbook, and finally Boss It. And I spend most of my time now advising small businesses and really giving them the advice that I wasn't given as a child. So as a child, I was given advice that business is complicated. I did GCSE business studies, and it was about share valuations and big glass buildings. It wasn't about the reality of business. So in my columns in the press and so on, what I try to do is to demystify business and actually help people understand that business doesn't need to be complicated. It's hard work, but it's not complicated.
Definitely. I'm a big believer in KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. It's going back to basics is so important.
It really is. And the problem that we have in the business world is that so many people are motivated to find a problem and expand that problem to then solve a solution. And actually, business is really simple. It's about buying something for a fiver and selling it for a tenner. But along the way, we lose sight of that.
And so, any more books in the pipeline, or are you done at your 3 now?
Hey, quite possibly. So, do you know,
Have
it's
you got
really
the bug,
interesting.
the
And
writing
Phil,
bug?
you're the first. Yeah, you're the first person to hear this. But over lockdown, I've been I've been thinking about it, and I think we've all explored our own, I guess, inner hobbies and what we want to achieve and so on. And I actually, for a passing moment, and I don't know if it will come to fruition, but I thought about writing a fiction book. Now, that's going to be really tough because I've never read one, or certainly not since school anyway. I think To Kill a Mockingbird was the last one I read, and it was when I was 14 or 15. So yeah, I don't know where that idea came from, but yeah, certainly the bug's within me, and I think that there will be at least one more book, but I would like to make it a little bit different from the book so far.
Yes. Okay. And talking about franchising, you've held chairman position at BFA, was it? Or
Yeah, so affiliate chairman, and I served on the board as well. Yeah.
okay, and are you still involved with the BFA, or?
Kind of. So the way the BFA governance works, you get a fixed term, but you can be a director. So did my fixed term, and it's on a rotating basis. So I'm still involved, but not. It's more as a supporter, advocate, and member than as a board member.
What's with COVID obviously changing the world this year? What's your view on COVID and franchising? Because franchising is a step up the ladder effectively. Do you see the franchising industry as being in a good place, or might struggle a little bit? What's your view?
Okay, so COVID has been the most, I guess, dramatic, catastrophic, terrible, whatever adjective you want to use. It's been the biggest thing that's gone on certainly in my lifetime, and probably for most viewers' lifetimes. It's probably the closest comparison in not even recent history would be a world war. It's affected the whole world, and we've all been in that storm. And it would be wrong of me to say that franchising has pulled through it beautifully. However, I think that certainly in the past, what I've seen is that franchising tends to pull out of most downturns beautifully. So there is opportunity for franchising going forwards. I think that if we looked at the franchising sector for 2020, I think if we were to look at the number of franchisors, the number of franchisees, who was trading at the beginning and who's trading at the end, it would have probably gone down. There was undoubtedly business closures, as with every single sector. The difference and why franchising tends to pick up after a downturn, and where I think the opportunity and the positive outlook for franchising is that when people lose their jobs, they tend to gravitate towards franchising because it is a relatively safe bet. We know that there's a significantly higher percentage of franchisees who are still trading after 3 years when compared to generic small businesses. You know, the failure rate for small businesses after 3 years is more like 50%. With good, strong business format franchisees, it's significantly higher than that. So the success rate is greater. And there's also the shortcut. You're able as a franchisee to buy into an existing brand, an existing system, and an existing culture, an existing way of doing things. So you've got all that stuff templated. If you're new out of a career, it's fairly reasonable to consider that as an option. So I'm actually cautiously optimistic about 2021 for franchising.
Yeah, from what I've heard of speaking with other franchisors, it's leads are up. We feel the opportunity is there for us to grow our networks. So yeah, we're looking forward to the future, although there are obviously challenges around at the moment. So
definitely. So there's challenges at the moment. I mean, one of the services that we offer at D&T is franchise funding, and one of the issues with franchise funding right now is that the bank's efforts are focused solely and squarely on bounce back loans and CBILS. So the EFG, which used to be a great route for franchising funding, isn't there. And the banks will likely be reluctant to lend until there's more evidence of things picking up. So that's going to cause a bit of a delay. And there'll be other challenges like that coming in as well. There's, I guess, another side to it is that redundancy packages might not be there in the same way that they have been before. So again, that might be a challenge, but franchising, I strongly believe, will find its way through it. And yeah, as you say, leads are up. People are wanting to invest in franchises. They're wanting that support and not an easy way to start a business, but a facilitated way to start a business. And franchising can be the perfect option for that.
For anyone that's in the consultancy world already, and maybe they're struggling to get clients, or they're not getting the success that they wish to be getting, what advice would you give them?
Sure. So I think that we are moving rapidly. In fact, we have moved from the systemization, automation world to actually realizing that we can't compete with the big boys. You know, if we try and automate something and it's a really good idea, Google, Microsoft, and everyone else are going to do it far quicker, far better than us. They've got deeper pockets. So whereas in the, I guess, the business advisory space 20 years ago, we would all follow the E-Myth Revisited and try and automate what we're doing and systemize so on, and rely on mantras such as extraordinary systems plus ordinary people give extraordinary results. That's a load of rubbish. That day's gone. And we're now in the world of having to really focus on human to human interactions. So there's the old cliched saying, it's been around for donkey's years. It's not B2B or B2C, it's H to H, human to human. And there's another side to it. When we look at automation, the things that can't be automated are specialist human skills and specialist interpersonal skills. And as a consultant, we need to look at where we can major in one or other, or potentially both. Because let's say, for example, we can compare a antique furniture repairer versus IKEA. IKEA can bring more and more robots into what they're doing. They don't need team members on the shop floor. That can still be automated. But you can't automate the eye of a specialist furniture repairer who'll know exactly what shade of paint to fill it in and how to, repair that crack or whatever. So polar opposites. And it doesn't matter if a furniture repairer can communicate or not, they've got that specialist skill. Likewise, when it comes from interpersonal skills, if you are an order taker, you could probably be automated. If you are a top ranking rainmaker, you probably can't be. So there's that fine balance. And I guess the perfect example is the dentist, who could be, certainly I'm scared of needles, believe it or not. So for a dentist to work on my teeth.
Fake tattoos on your hands, are they?
They're not. No. I don't know why I can do tattoos, but I can't do injections. But specifically the dentist, for a dentist to get me in that chair, he's not only got to be good at his job and get the certificates, he's got the specialist skills, but he needs to charm the pants off of me as well. So there's two sides to it. And as a consultant, you need to look at, like, where can you really put yourself out there in either specialist skills or interpersonal skills? Where can you focus on what Michael Porter used to call product differentiation, or how can you truly relate to your customers human to human age? And I think that there's another side to that as well. I would say personal branding is the currency of today for consultants and for anyone giving a human-to-human service, rather than hiding behind a computer screen. I know we have to do that at the moment, but be out there, meet people, and create that relationship. Because instead of going to the cinema nowadays, we're watching Netflix. Instead of going to restaurants, we've got Uber Eats and Deliveroo and so on. And we are a societal race. We're a societal being, and we want to deal with other people. And that's something that is a really easy way for consultants to set themselves apart, is to be themselves.
Yeah. It's so important to build that rapport, isn't it? And just to be a real human being and not be that stage like, oh, what should I say or what should I not say?
Oh, completely. Listen, we all deal with, in our personal lives, we all deal with chatbots, for example. If you want to send something back to Amazon or whatever, you've got to go through the rigmarole. And when you log on to that chat box, that the three options it's going to give you, you're not going to want any of them.
Speak to advisor. That's what I say.
And the problem is, if you work to a script, now whether that script is a genuine script or it's a script of what you feel you need to do to tick certain boxes and be professional and be another anonymous consultant, you might as well be a chatbot. No one wants to deal with you. But if you can just be yourself and have some personality and be known for being yourself, then actually you make it so much easier to build that rapport.
Yeah. And you might put off some people if you've got a big personality, or you could be a Marmite character and some people just don't want to deal with you. But
completely.
What's the expression? Your vibe attracts your tribe. So it's very much around working with people that are similar to you or get on with you and like you.
This is it, and I think that it's probably worth just mentioning, and it's going off piece a little bit, but some people actually use the Marmite approach deliberately, and they deliberately try to alienate some people in the belief that it captures others. And I think that's, personally for me, that's the wrong way about it. I think you have to frame it positively, work out where you're going, but just accept the fact that some might not like you. So rather than trying to antagonize people through personal branding, try and be the bit of Marmite people love. And yes, there'll be some that don't love it, but so be it.
And what would you say? How? Because obviously a lot of people would try to build their personal brand. It's probably a little bit like my son. He started a YouTube channel because he sees all these YouTubers and he thinks he's going to be the next one. But it takes a lot of time and work and dedication and promotion. How would you see yourself as a building your personal brand from a nothing level to suddenly making it? Because is there a sudden lift, do you think?
So I can only talk about my own experience because I'm not really an expert on this stuff, but I've got up to about 160,000 followers on social, and there was nothing sudden, but it might have appeared like that to the outside world potentially. And I mean, I started doing social media stuff back in 2008. I think I started on Twitter, and it's just, you know, one tweet after another after another. I think that you have to remember the iceberg effect. Yeah, consistency. You have to remember the iceberg effect, that there will come a point where it crops up above the sea level, but actually there's a hole underneath it. It is tough though, because if you were to ask me to answer honestly, if I could replicate what I've done over the last 12 years on, I guess, personal branding, social media stuff and so on, if I could replicate that today, I couldn't answer that honestly. I couldn't say yes, because there's other factors at play. The first one being, I mean, you mentioned your son's trying to do it. My son's trying to do it. Everyone and his dog's trying to do it. And there wasn't that competition back then. So that's the first thing. The second thing is the dynamic of what people are looking for from content creators has changed as well. So even if we look, you know, just 5-6 years ago, the types of videos that would get traction, and I know I'm going very specific, very hyper specific here, but the types of videos that get traction would be walking around and holding a mobile phone and doing a vlog. Nowadays, people think, what on earth are you doing? Can't you afford a ring light? Can't you afford a tripod? It's a very different way of doing things. And with the competition going up, the barriers to entry have gone up as well. So yeah, it's one of those things. I think that personal branding, we do also need to remember, is not just about social media. It's not just about online presence. It's about understanding who you are, what you offer to your customers, what you offer to the wider world, and just being authentic to that throughout everything you do.
Yeah, backing yourself effectively.
Absolutely, yes.
100%, knowing what you're doing and where you're going and what your offering is.
Completely. I mean, a great example of this would be if you, Phil, had, let's say, 100 ideal customers, and they were all worth £1 million to you, and you knew realistically, if you built a personal brand with them, you could get 10 of them. Okay.
Yeah.
Would you bother with Twitter or Instagram or anything else? Or would you focus solely on the activities that could build your reputation with those individuals?
Yeah. Just that.
So there's a much bigger piece to it as well. You need to look at what the end goal is, and I guess your motivations behind it as well. Why you're trying to go in that direction.